I'm going to run npm start to start up our dev server because we will going to need it as we're going to be creating our components. And what's going to happen right now is there should be a React tutorial since we changed that in the index HTML. Well, by the time this is going to be loading, and yeah, of course, the moment I stop talking, yes, it does loads and everything is fine. This is going to be a React tutorial. So far, so good. So what else we have? We have the public. And like I said, we're going to be working mostly in the source folder. Now, in this case, since the create React app is a boilerplate, meaning it comes with already preset things, and since we would like to start from the very scratch, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to delete both the app CSS and app.js. Later on, we're going to recreate them, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then we also have an option of working with a logo SVG. However, I do want to show you that the moment you're going to delete something, and if this is going to be somewhere as a dependency, meaning it's going to be imported or exported somewhere, you're going to get an error. Just don't freak out about it. So what's going to happen is that as you're going to be working, if you're going to be creating some kind of, I don't know, maybe even syntax or anything like that, the dev server is going to tell you, hey, listen, there's no way for me to start up the server because there is some kind of mistake. So in this case, obviously, because we deleted 2 files and there was some other file that was depending on it, this is the reason why we had right now our error. And again, I purposely wanted to show you that just in case you don't freak out about it and don't think that you broke the application or anything like that. The moment you're going to fix the error, everything is going to be fine. So in this case, I'd also like to delete the logo. We're not going to need it right now. And now let's head over to index.js, where first of all, I'm going to zoom out. Then we're going to bravely select everything that we have in the index.js, since this is going to be our JavaScript entry point. Then we're going to save it. And the moment you notice, the moment I save it, everything is working fine because we haven't imported or we're not rendering any of the things that we already deleted. And now we can finally start working in our application. Or maybe to more precisely say, we're going to be start working on our first React component. In general, as you're going to be working with React components, you're going to need few things. So the first one is going to be import. So you will going to need to import React. And I just want to let you know that this is not a React feature. This is going to be, in fact, ES6 modules feature, the import feature. And I'm not going to cover this in a big detail because I would like to cover the modules, the JavaScript modules, later on as we're creating more and more of our own components. So just keep a notice of that, and that's it. And we're going to cover this in more detail later on in the course. But you always will going to need to import React, as well as you always will going to have to create a component. And the easiest way is going to be setting up the function. Now, in this case, since this is our JavaScript entry point, there is going to be some extras. Just don't think that you're going to have to do all that work for each and every component. Understand that this is just going to be our JavaScript entry point, and this is the reason why we're going to add a few more things. In general, this is going to be the only time we'll have to do it. The moment we have the JavaScript entry point set up, then we're just going to be creating our normal components. So like I said, first we're going to be dealing with the import, which is not going to be React. In fact, that is going to be JavaScript. And then I'm looking for one of the dependencies. Remember, as we were creating React app, we were installing them. So we were looking for React scripts, we had React DOM, and in this case, we're going to be importing React, and then we're going to be importing this from React. So that would be our dependency. So what's going to happen is that since this is the dependency that has been installed, we don't need to add anything, any kind of forward slashes or anything like that. This is just going to be looking for React as our dependency and going to import it to our file. Once we're going to have our own files, then again, we're going to have to show the paths and all that. But again, we're going to get to that. Don't worry about it. Then also, since this is our JavaScript entry point, we do need to import React DOM. So I'm going to write here, React DOM. So this is going to be our import from, and the package name is also going to be React DOM. So those are the two things that we're going to need right now. And then finally, let's create our component. And like I said, React is, at the end of the day, a lot of JavaScript. That's it. There's really not much to add to it. And then the simplest way how to create a component is by creating a function. How do we create functions in JavaScript? You already know that we need to have the function keyword. Then we're going to be looking for the name. However, the difference in React would be the fact that we would need to capitalize the name. And in this case, I'm just going to call this greeting. I'm going to say, yes, this is going to be my component, and the name of it is going to be greeting. Then we have the code block. We're all going to be running our code. And here the difference would be in the React, the fact that we are going to be returning, but we are going to be returning HTML. Technically, this is not HTML. This is something called JSX, and we're going to cover this in way more detail in the next video. But for now, as well as you're going to hear from other tutorials or other, I don't know, articles or anything like that, where they keep mentioning HTML. So this is what's going to happen in general. This is JSX, but a lot of cases, this is just being called HTML. We already know how we can work with HTML, where we have the fact of just opening and closing tag. So in my case, we're going to say heading 1, and then we're going to be looking for some kind of name. By the way, if you did exactly the same setup as I did, remember in the JSON file where we had everything with an emet, you're going to have your emet working in your JSX. If you don't, you're going to have to type everything out yourself by hand. So that's the reason why I added this emet, because we're obviously going to be writing a lot of code within this JSX, within this HTML. And that's the reason why it's very neat to have the actual emet working in the JSX. And for those of you who don't know, the emet would be the speeding up our HTML and CSS workflow. So that's just a side note. So if you have this emet setup installed and everything is written in the settings, then you should be having your suggestions right away. So the way this is going to work is if I'm just going to type heading 1, then I'm going to have the opening tag and the closing tag. And I can work with all the emet features that it offers. And then let's say here that this is going to be, this is John. So this is going to be my text. And this is my first and a React component. So that's going to be the name here for our component. Okay, we save it. All is good, but we still don't see anything on the right-hand side. So you might be wondering, is this guy knows what he's talking about? I mean, we're importing something, we're writing something. He keeps talking about some JSXs and what is happening? Okay, so why don't we use the fact of React DOM and now use the render method that we have, where we are rendering this component in the root ID that we had in the public folder. So how this is going to work? So I'm going to say React DOM, since this obviously right now is my variable name that I have. And then I'm going to say, okay, React DOM. And by the way, I wrote this a little bit wrong, so I would need to go with the name. And then I'm going to be looking for the render method that is available, since obviously, again, I'm using right now my package. And then the render method accepts 2 parameters. So the first one is going to be what we're going to be rendering. So in our case, well, it would be smart if we would be rendering our component that we just created. So I'm going to say greeting. And by the way, one last caveat in this video about React is that if you don't have anything in between the tags, you do need to include the self-closing tag. If you have Prettier, however, installed, and this is the case where I will going to be coming back to the extensions because they're going to make way more sense right now. So if you do have this Prettier code formatter, it will going to do it for you. So let's say if I'm going to write greeting and then we're going to have the closing tag, the moment I'm going to save it, notice once we're going to press Command and S, this is going to save the file. Now this is going to throw the error. Don't worry about it. But what Prettier is going to do, if there's not going to be any content between my tags, it's going to set it up as a self-closing tag. Now, last but not least, we also need to hook it up, this actual component somewhere. So in this case, what we're going to be doing, we're going to say document, get element by ID, and now we're going to be looking for the root. So in our case, what we're saying, okay, the first parameter that we're passing or the argument was what we're going to be rendering. And the second one is where this is going to be rendered. So now the moment I'm going to save it, now I'm heading 1. This is John, and this is my first React component. If I want to change it, I can say, you know what, I don't want heading 1. I'd rather have like heading 4 or something like this. And again, the moment we're going to save it, this is going to be rendered on a screen. And in general syntax, this is what's happening with React. So first we're going to have to import the React. Then we're going to have to set up the component, which the easiest way is going to be setting up the function. Then we're going to be returning the JSX where we're going to be placing all our content. And then in this case, since this is going to be the entry point, we're going to have to use the render method. In most cases, though, however, you're probably going to be exporting, which again is going to be something with JavaScript modules.